Most people with diabetes think the first blood sugar mistake happens at breakfast. Too much toast, too much oatmeal, too much fruit, too many carbs. But for many adults over 60, the first mistake may happen before breakfast, before medication, and before the first cup of coffee. It happens when the body wakes up a little behind on fluid, and blood sugar starts the morning under more pressure than most people realize. And stay with me, because near the end I'll give you one simple 8-second cue that makes this habit easier to remember without turning your day into another health checklist. I'm Dr. Thomas Bennett. This is not about replacing your medication, and it is not about pretending water cures diabetes. It is about helping your body work with your treatment plan a little more smoothly from the moment the day begins. Sometimes patients do not need a brand new plan. They need one quiet correction early in the day that makes the rest of the plan easier to follow. And let me give you the core pattern right away, because I don't want to make you wait for the useful part. I call it H3. Hydrate early. Hydrate before meals. Hydrate during heat or activity. Morning water first. A smaller glass before lunch and dinner. Steady sips when you're active or in warm weather. That's the pattern. Now let me show you why it matters, why it may help take some pressure off your blood sugar routine, and why it also matters for kidney health over time. If this sounds like something you want to try, type water in the comments. One word. Sometimes a commitment makes a habit feel more real. What gets overlooked is this. Diabetes and dehydration often push in the same direction. The CDC notes that not drinking enough liquids can raise blood sugar, and high blood sugar can make you urinate more, which can make dehydration worse. For some people, the body slips into a loop. Sugar runs higher, fluid loss increases, and getting back to a steadier place becomes harder than it should be. And age can make that loop easy to miss. Many older adults do not feel thirst the way they once did. The National Kidney Foundation points out that older adults often do not have a strong sense of thirst and may need more fluid than they would naturally take in on their own. So, I'll drink when I'm thirsty sounds sensible, but very often it means you're already late. This becomes more important if you've ever had one of those mornings when you look at your glucose reading and think, that doesn't add up. You were careful the day before. You took your medication. You didn't go off track. And still the number feels wrong. That wears on people. After enough mornings like that, they start wondering whether their body is impossible to manage, or whether they are somehow failing in a way they can't see. Very often the truth is simpler. The overall plan may be mostly fine, but the day is beginning from a drier, less stable starting point than it needs to. And when that happens again and again, people begin to lose trust in their effort. There is also an important kidney reason to care about this now, not only years from now. Diabetes is one of the leading causes of kidney disease, and NIDDK explains that high blood glucose can damage the blood vessels in the kidneys over time. So anything that helps support steadier self-management is about more than energy or frustration. It also fits into the larger goal of protecting organs already working hard every day. That is exactly what I saw with Gerald. Gerald was 68. He was careful with food, consistent with medication, and starting to feel discouraged. He walked mornings, watched portions, and yet his fasting readings moved around enough to leave him feeling like he was always chasing the day instead of starting it well. One morning he would be in the 140s. Another morning he would be in the 170s. Then lower again. Then back up. Same breakfast. Same effort. His wife looked at me and said, "He's trying so hard, and his numbers still don't make sense." So, instead of overhauling everything, I asked a much simpler question. What happens between waking up and breakfast? He walked me through it. He would wake up, check his sugar, make coffee, sit down, read the news, drink the coffee, and only later have breakfast and take water with his medicine. In other words, after going all night, without fluids, he was stretching that dry window even longer. That was the blind spot. We changed 3 things. Water before coffee in the morning, a smaller glass before lunch and dinner, and steadier fluids through the day instead of waiting and trying to catch up all at once. No miracle powder, no extreme water target, just better timing. Within a couple of weeks, he told me his mornings felt steadier. Not perfect, steadier. He also felt less foggy and less used up by early afternoon. That is the result I want people to listen for, not some fantasy promise. just a body that feels less chaotic because one missing basic was put back where it belonged. That matters more than people think in daily life. So let me walk you through the 3 mistakes I see most often. The first mistake is waiting for thirst. For many adults over 60, thirst is no longer an early signal. It may be a late one. If you only drink when your body is asking, you may spend long stretches of the day behind and not realize it. And that matters, because water helps the kidneys remove waste from the blood through urine, and it helps blood vessels stay open so blood can move where it needs to go. When the body gets too dry, the system works under more strain. The second mistake is trying to repair the whole day with one very large drink. A lot of people go most of the morning on coffee, tea, or nothing, and then later they drink a big bottle of water and hope that fixes the problem. Usually it does not create the steadiness the body responds to best. Routine works better than rescue. A little earlier often does more than a lot later. Most people do not need a heroic hydration performance by noon. They just need fewer long, dry gaps. The third mistake is chasing tricks instead of building the habit that actually matters. This is where people get pulled into all kinds of promises. Add this powder. Add that mineral. 2. Add salt. Add lemon. Buy this packet. Some of those things may be harmless, and lemon for flavor is fine if it helps you drink more. But the bigger benefit usually comes from something less flashy, reaching for water and other unsweetened drinks more often, and at smarter times. NIDDK recommends drinks with little or no added sugar, such as water, unsweetened tea, coffee, or sparkling water. That is the foundation. So let's come back to H3 and make it practical. H3 means hydrate early, hydrate before meals, hydrate during heat or activity. First, hydrate early. Before coffee, before breakfast, before the phone, just 1 full glass of water, ideally soon after you wake up. For many people, room temperature water feels easier than very cold water first thing in the morning. So I usually tell patients to choose the version they will actually repeat. The point is not to impress anyone. The point is to stop starting the day behind. And there is one more small advantage here. The CDC lists when you first wake up, before you eat or drink anything, and before a meal, as common times people check blood sugar. So these hydration anchors fit naturally into moments many viewers already know. Second, hydrate before meals. About 10 to 15 minutes before lunch and dinner, have a smaller glass of water. Not because water magically blocks carbohydrates, and not because it erases the meal. It helps keep you from coming to the table already dry, tired, and more likely to reach for a sweet drink out of habit. Sometimes the body makes poorer choices when it has been neglected for hours. This is a support habit, not a cure. But support habits are often what make the rest of the day feel more manageable. Third, hydrate during heat or activity. This matters more than many people realize. The CDC notes that people with diabetes can become dehydrated more quickly, and high temperatures can change how the body uses insulin. So, if you are walking outside, gardening, shopping in the heat, cleaning, or doing anything that leaves you warm and sweating, do not wait until afterward to think about fluids. Bring water into the activity, not only into the recovery afterward. That is the full frame. H3. Hydrate early, hydrate before meals, hydrate during heat. Now I do want to briefly address the extras, because this is where a lot of viewers start getting mixed messages. You do not need to turn water into a chemistry project to make this helpful. Lemon for flavor is fine. Sparkling water can be fine. Unsweetened tea can fit, but I would be careful about assuming that everybody needs added salt, magnesium powder, or some electrolyte formula. People with high blood pressure, heart issues, chronic kidney disease, or certain medications may need a more individualized plan. The NIH Office of Dietary Supplements notes that magnesium supplements can cause side effects and can interact with medications. So keep the foundation simple first. Plain water, better timing, fewer sugary drinks. That is where most people get the benefit. Let me give you one quick mini proof here. I had another patient, Dorothy, 74, who kept telling me she just was not a water person. She rarely felt thirsty, leaned mostly on coffee and tea, and assumed that was enough. We changed only the pattern, and the first thing she noticed was not some dramatic meter miracle. It was steadier energy and less afternoon drag. That is often how helpful changes show up in real life. Quietly. Now, how much water should you actually drink? There is no perfect number that fits every person. The National Kidney Foundation is clear that daily water needs vary based on age, body size, climate, activity, illness, and whether you have chronic kidney disease or kidney failure. So I do not want you chasing some universal internet target. I would rather have you notice the pattern. Are you waking up dry, going long stretches without fluids, spending time in heat, or choosing sweet drinks when plain water would do the job better? A simple setup usually works better than a complicated one. Keep one glass near the sink or coffee maker, so water comes first. Put water on the table before lunch and dinner, not halfway through the meal. Carry a bottle when you leave the house in warm weather. Visible cues matter, because once the day gets moving, memory fills up very quickly. And let's not skip the kidney side of this, because it matters. Your kidneys depend on enough fluid to help remove waste and extra water through urine. The National Kidney Foundation says severe dehydration can lead to kidney damage, and drinking enough water may also help reduce the risk of kidney stones. On the other hand, if you have advanced chronic kidney disease, kidney failure, or a fluid restriction, more is not always better. That is why this advice needs to stay honest. Better hydration is helpful. Endless hydration is not the message. And if you have ever felt embarrassed by how simple this sounds, I understand. Many patients tell me, "Doctor, I've spent years worrying about carbs, medications, walking, sleep, stress, and my A1C. It almost feels silly to think water timing could matter." It is not silly. In medicine, simple does not mean trivial. It often means foundational, and foundational habits are exactly the ones that keep showing up underneath good outcomes. One more thing before you try this. Do not judge the method by one reading, one morning, or one frustrating day. Bodies are not machines. Look at the direction over time. Notice whether mornings feel a little less jagged, whether energy feels steadier, and whether the routine feels easier to live with. That is the kind of progress that lasts. So here is the 8-second cue I promised you. The moment your feet hit the floor in the morning, say this to yourself. Wake, water, then whatever's next. That is it. Wake, water. Then whatever's next. Before coffee, before your phone, before breakfast, before the day starts negotiating with you. Take those few seconds, drink the water, and let that become the opening move of your morning. For many people, that sequence is what finally makes the habit feel real. You are not depending on memory. You are giving the day an order. If this video helped, type steady in the comments. One word. That is the real goal here. Steadier mornings, steadier energy, steadier habits that ask less of your willpower. Small beginnings still count when they are repeated every day. And here is what I want you to try over the next 2 weeks. Morning water before coffee. A smaller glass before lunch and dinner. Steady sips during heat or activity. Keep it simple. Track your fasting number, your afternoon energy, and how often you reach for sweet drinks. Look for patterns, not miracles. Please also use common sense and work with your clinician if you have chronic kidney disease, heart failure, a fluid restriction, or you take medicines that affect hydration. This routine is meant to support your diabetes plan, not replace medical care. And if you know someone your age, or a spouse, sibling, parent, or friend who keeps saying, "I'm trying, but my numbers still don't make sense," share this with them. Sometimes what people need most is not another dramatic promise. It is one missing pattern that makes the rest of the plan easier to carry. That kind of help is often more valuable than one more tip they will forget next week.
We can see the hydration levels are currently low. This creates tension in the bloodstream, emphasizing the need to monitor glucose closely. There is something we missed earlier. The previous diagnosis wasn't entirely accurate. We have options.
Patterns, not miracles. Please also use common sense and work with your clinician if you have chronic kidney disease, heart failure, a fluid restriction, or you take medicines that affect hydration. This routine is meant to support your diabetes plan, not replace medical care. And if you know someone your age, or a spouse, sibling, parent, or friend, who keeps saying, "I'm trying, but my numbers still don't make sense," share this with them. Sometimes what people need most is not another dramatic promise. It is one missing pattern that makes the rest of the plan easier to carry. That kind of help is often more valuable than one more tip they will forget next week.